fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. Wearing a bicycle helmet saved my life. Wearing a bicycle helmet could save your life, too. Wear a bicycle helmet whenever you go out bicycling. Wear a bicycle helmet whenever you go out rollerblading. Wear a bicycle helmet whenever you participate in a sport that involves any amount of speed. About 20 years ago in Southern California, I went for a mountain bike ride with my good friends. It was a late February day, a perfect day for a bicycle ride. The sky was a deep blue, very little smog. The sun was high up in the air, a few wisps of clouds. I was really anticipating this mountain bike ride. I remember finishing my work at the California Institute of Technology and coming home from my laboratory, preparing for this bike ride. That's the last thing I have a coherent memory about that ride, though. The next thing I remember is I was in Florida at my parents' home, where I grew up with my parents. Now, being at home in Florida wasn't that puzzling. I had been there 15 years growing up. But what was puzzling to me was that people were talking about a person who had been in a bike accident. I knew that I rode bicycles, and I was curious about this person that was in this accident. I wanted to know what happened to them. But then I realized it was me they were talking about. It was me who had been in that bicycle accident. Now, a bicycle helmet is very simple. It's essentially a piece of foam that is meant to absorb impact. The foam absorbs impact that your skull and your brain inside your skull would otherwise absorb. The bicycle helmet also has a plastic shell to protect the foam. This one's kind of beat up, but it's still protecting it. Then we have a neck strap to hold onto your head. And it's simple to use. I mean, what could be simpler? You simply place it on your head, fasten the neck strap, make sure it's about your forehead level, you're ready to go. Now, the Bicycle Helmet Safety Institute has shown that helmets are 70% effective in absorbing impact, and that 2/3 of all deaths in the United States due to bicycle accidents are due to head injuries. Yet many, many, many people still do not wear their helmet. I'm sure if you walk outside after this meeting, you will see a person not wearing a helmet within 5 to 10 minutes. Why don't people wear their bicycle helmets? There are many excuses that people make up. One excuse is that they're too expensive. That's just not true. You can buy a bicycle helmet online for as low as $10 to $20. Second excuse is that it's too hot. Well, wearing a bicycle helmet is going to be a little bit hotter than not wearing a helmet. But still, some of the new helmets have good ventilation and they aren't that hot. A third excuse is it's going to get my hair messed up. I cannot help you out with that one. But the alternative to not wearing a helmet is much worse than getting your hair messed up. And if you're outside riding your bicycle, you're probably going to get sweaty and need to bathe afterwards. And if you're riding your bicycle to work, hopefully you won't get so sweaty that your hair gets messed up. What happened to me those 20 years ago on that bike ride? I went on that bike ride with one of my good friends up in the San Gabriel Mountains. And it's a ride we had been on many times before. Just a classic Southern California bike ride. Arduous uphill, blazing fast downhill. At the end of this ride, at the downhill, there's a deep concrete culvert where the mountain road hits the city street. I went through that culvert too fast, and I went over my handlebars. I had road rash, abrasions all over my body. My knees were all scraped up, my arms, my face, and my shoulder, abrasions all over my body. I also broke my jaw. But the worst part was I hit my head. I hit my head right here, and I hit it really hard. I was wearing a bicycle helmet, and the bicycle helmet absorbed some of the impact. It crushed and broke apart in this area. Yet I was still unconscious for 3 days, in the hospital for 2 weeks in Pasadena, in the hospital for 2 more weeks in Florida, and then in rehab for 3 months doing occupational therapy and physical therapy in Florida. Now, one good thing about this accident was I did lose 15 pounds, but there are much better ways to lose weight. All this happened, and I was wearing a helmet. If I had not been wearing a helmet, I doubt I would be here right here today giving this speech. And even wearing a helmet, I have residual effects from that accident. My balance is awful, so I will not be a tightrope walker anytime soon. Also, hopefully you never have the pleasure of reading my atrocious handwriting because the fine motor control in my right hand is lacking. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, how many of you wear a bicycle helmet when you go out bicycling? Good, good, a good number of you. I hope my story reminds you of the importance of wearing a bicycle helmet. And for those of you who do not wear a bicycle helmet, I hope that you remember my speech and my speech motivates you to wear a helmet, or at the very least, you remember that guy from Toastmasters in that contest and the importance of wearing a bicycle helmet. Wear a bicycle helmet. Madam Toastmaster.